And I'd like to call to order this Facilities and Technology Committee meeting Wednesday, May 13th at 5:30 p.m. Roll call. We have everybody here. Lena, Joe, Jeff's on his way. Armand's here. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the agenda as it's presented. Do the approval of the minutes for April 8th and April 22nd. Motion for that. All in favor? Aye. Public participation. Ms. Blakesley.
My name is Kaylee Blakesley. I am here.
Hold 1 second, I'm sorry.
I just have to read this. Members of the public and staff may bring to the committee's attention information, ideas, or matter of concern related to all the duties and responsibilities of this committee. The committee will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. The time for individual remarks will be apportioned according to the number of speakers and will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless extended by the chair.
Thank you. My apologies. Good evening. My name is Kaylee Blakesley. I'm here as a community member as well as a parent to 2 children at the Torrington Public Schools. I'd like to begin my remarks by thanking the many wonderful, talented, creative, and dedicated staff members of the Torrington Public Schools and those members of this board who place the interests of our children above their own. It is these caring adults who make this school district great. The future success of this community lies entirely in their hands. Jacob Riis famously said, "The slum is the measure of civilization." I say, elementary school is the measure of education. In other words, the quality of our school district must be measured by the quality of the elementary schools. Walk into Southwest, Torringford, or Vogel-Wetmore, and you will know what I mean. Sadly, as it stands, the elementary school experience ends when you enter the building formerly known as Torrington Middle School. But this can change, and you can change that. Through your words and your actions, you can guarantee students have a developmentally appropriate education. You can stop the trend to reduce recess, and you can promote an environment that encourages outdoor play. You can stop the harm from continuing. By prioritizing the elementary students at Torrington Intermediate School, you can improve the outcomes for all students, and you can improve the quality of Torrington Public Schools. I am heartened to see that the agenda includes a section for TIS Playground. I am grounded, however, in the knowledge that this body has publicly debated whether or not we need a playground, or whether or not it is even the school's responsibility to ensure students have the opportunity to play outside during school at all. I remain hopeful because I have faith in this community and I have faith in these schools that the caring adults on this board will prevail and the time, energy, and effort that is needed to improving the Torrington Intermediate School elementary experience will start now. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh, anybody online? No. All right, we'll continue with the tech update. Rachel?
Hello. So first for social media, Gold Star this month goes to Torringford. They had over 16,000 views on their welcome back posting that they did for the kids welcoming back from spring break. So it was very cute if you want to check that out. And of course, some honorable mentions were the middle school posting. They posted the coach buses driving off for the DC trip, so that was really fun. And then, of course, the ribbon cutting as well. Both got really good engagement. You know, about 12 to 13,000 views, so moving in the right direction. I'd also like to point out the Torrington Food Services Facebook has some posts on there of different meals that are being offered, and their top post since this packet was created was the National School Lunch Hero Day, so thanking all of our cafeteria staff. Are there any questions? Okay. For tech update, there's not too many new things going on since we're winding down the school year. I've met with the technicians. We're going to be discussing device collection and how that's going to look in each of the schools. Another thing that I have been working on is between me and the technicians in the middle school and high school have really been trying to crack down on restrictions on the devices since it's a big topic at the moment. So we've implemented some new firewalls of sort and are getting much tighter on it. The students have expressed their concerns about it to us, but we are continuing to move forward in what we believe is best for them. Are there any questions?
I have a tech question, but not tied to what you just mentioned. Just as a part of your summer process, I noticed that the emails that the parents get for the report cards or the absenteeism report, they have you type in the student ID number. They don't come from a Torrington Public Schools address. And just in the whole spam, you guys have that awesome Arctic Wolf thing. Maybe we could look into getting the vendor to send it out as Torrington Public Schools. It asks you for personal information, and somebody who's looking and seeing the training we're giving them, it may not be possible at all, Ms. Vaines, but I just thought I'd throw it out there as a possibility.
Okay.
It just maybe they can send us with a change in the SPF record or something. Just a food for thought. Nothing
Okay.
crazy.
Maybe we can share more details.
Yeah, we can talk
after.
afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Good. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to facilities. There's quite a bit here, Dean.
Okay, thank you. First on the agenda was project updates. Typical platform, we put it on here. A few things were taken off from the last time, a few things were added. Any particular questions that you have on this list of to-dos?
I only had one, Mr. Bergola. That was just that I assume the TIS, we have it categorized as TIS roof on our side.
Yeah.
I assumed so, but
Yep.
there was that whole to-do about that at one point. Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
think
in this, yes, I did, you're absolutely right. Anything you see TIS is truly our TIS
Yeah.
building, yeah.
No, everything looks good. Thank you.
Okay, next thing on there was facility use policy fee discussion. So I wasn't quite sure where we ended the other night on this. I put it in the packet to take a look at it. It's a work in progress. I know there's a lot of, I still have much to do with that as far as technical stuff that has got to go in there, the exact specifics of certain uses of the building, especially this building. So I just wanted to open it up again. I'm not sure where we left off the other night, but if there's any questions on what I put in the packet, I already have made a few more adjustments I'm going to bring to the table that you don't see there. Today I was working on a little bit. So any questions on that?
I just have a couple small ones. The 3-hour minimum, where does that, it talks about having the custodians for a 3-hour minimum for certain events. Where does that come from? I couldn't find it in the 1579 contract for during the day.
Oh, not during the day, but for when.
Like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. it says for the 3-hour minimum.
Right, that's after hours, but it's a half-hour breakdown. That's included a half-hour prior and a half-hour post for setup and breakdown.
Yeah, so we're saying 3 hours, not because of
Exactly.
the.
Just not to
just
confuse
because.
more people, here's what it is. It's 3 hours. The reason, if they ask, well, because of this, this, and this, but it came out of the contract.
And then, do you have any idea what the actual cost is for the overtime for community events? I know we have an overtime cost for our own internal sports teams, but do we have a cost for just the part that everybody came to public comment over last week?
So, again, I worked on it a little bit today. I'm going to give you some rough numbers now because I used 2025 as a baseline. And the problem with using 2025 as a baseline is this complex was under construction. So there was a lot of things on here that weren't included because we didn't have events here, out in the fields and things of that nature. So outside entities, we're in a neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000 a year. Okay?
So
That
we
helps.
could,
if
we
that-
could say maybe 20% more, maybe it's 35,000 to 40,000 worst case.
Well, the thing, so let me back that up. So that's, those situations. Our, extra duty within that year was in the neighborhood of 17 to 20,000. So that means snow, anything that they came in to do. Again, this is rough numbers. I just got at the front line to start playing with it a little bit today, but I did want to, I know you asked me last time, and I want to give you something. They're close, right? Athletics, you're in the neighborhood of, $12,000 to $15,000, okay? Alarm calls, quite a few that we have to come in. You're in the neighborhood of like $7,000 for false alarm calls or alarm calls. Again, this was from April 24th to April 25th. This was that year that was in between there. So there's a lot to play in there. And the other thing, too, is there's so many elements to this facility use that I feel like it's going to take a little bit. In other words, we're going to be getting that concession stand out there, right? So when we rent to one of our fields, does it include the bathroom? Does it include the concession stand? And these are questions, right? There's a lot of elements that are in this building right now that were not defined. And me being maybe a little bit too much, I like them a little bit more defined, like exactly what's going on, what we should charge them for, when we shouldn't charge them, how much we should charge them, things of that nature. So it's a work in progress, but I hope that answers your questions as far as dollar amounts, because I did a little bit of work for it.
Yes, it does. This is somewhat related. When do we have to have somebody come in? I mean, for an outside event, if they're just say they're using the soccer fields at TIS and they're using the porta potty out front, do we actually have to bring somebody in for that, or what's?
So
how does that
that's
work?
another great point. So if you look at the contract that, again, we go by, I think it was, I don't know, 1982?
Square dancing.
Right, there's some weird stuff in there. What's not in there is a brand-new $6 million turf. So my question is, if we have an event out there on the turf, should we have a custodian there, somebody representing the school while we're renting the turf? In my opinion, we absolutely should. Just to have somebody with somebody there on site if needed in an emergency, just to make sure things are in order, clean up, pick up, all of that. So it's another question that we have to ask. Do we want somebody out there when we rent the fields? And that's something I'm going to be presenting. Because if we do, you're going to see now, we have 3 to 4 fields built. This could be I call it the Big E, because if I go out there at 5 o'clock at night, it's like the Big E. There's that many people out there. I mean, it's constantly being used. Now, that's public coming off the street, but people and organizations are going to want to start using this thing. So we have to prepare for that and say, again, and that will fall into the cost too. It's one thing when 1 or 2 programs want to use it and you spend, $25,000 a year on overtime as opposed to $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, because that's what it could turn out to be. I don't know what it's going to be like, but it's a very attractive place to come and do your event here. So, Jeff, those are the questions that really we got to dig into, that I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I know you're going to have a lot, and other people are going to have a lot of questions that we're kind of working on now.
I think you brought up a great point, Mr. Pergola, that we have to figure those things out. The contract talks about things that we haven't done in 30 years. So figuring out what balances the cost with the best interest of protection of the property.
Yeah.
A discussion for another day, but
Yep.
I appreciate you looking into it.
Yep. Any questions on that? Go ahead. Yeah, so it's broken down. It's broken down in our policy on who pays what. But we're cleaning the language up in here because it was a little bit confusing. And, there was almost 2 different stories if you go on our website. Our application form had partial of our applications on there, which is biting us in the butt a little bit. It didn't have all of the elements on there, but if you went into the actual policy, it was there. But the form didn't have it on it completely, so we're trying to work through that as level-headed as we can, too.
Last question is, or hopefully my last, the hourly rate that we're carrying, the time and a half for the double time, does that include our employer costs? Or is that just the straight hourly rate? Like, does that include our, the Torrington Public Schools benefits side of it, the Social Security, Medicare?
No, that, we base that off of their hourly pay. What they get paid, that's what it's based off of. So you're talking about fringe package and stuff like that?
Yeah, just the actual
No,
cost of the person.
that's not into there, it was just the,
Because it would seem like you had a great idea on the 80% thing. I love what you did with that. It's a policy discussion, not a facility.
Yeah.
But I think we'll have, to your point, a lot more people who may have access to, and the more people in town who want to use it, will bring more people out of town in to see it who may want to rent it more. I mean, it's a beautiful facility.
yeah.
So a lot of valid points you've got.
When does that conversation happen with, like, the total cut? Like, when does that decision have to be made?
Well, I would like to make it sooner than later, because right now, we're in a gray area. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, we're not charging where, if we do want to charge, we should be charging. So,
I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, you almost definitely should have a janitor on site, like, especially if the bathrooms are being used, like, there's consumables in there. Like,
Absolutely.
there's a cost that you have to charge something for, otherwise you're essentially giving it away for free. So, which would be nice, but we don't want to do that. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's dependent on the size of the vent, but like, even if something as simple as a toilet clogs, like, you're going to want somebody there to, to fix
Absolutely.
it. So.
well, if we open the bathrooms, we have
Oh, I
absolutely
thought you were,
positively.
okay, I apologize. I thought you were-
But I'm asking the question is if we rent the field, do we open bathrooms? I mean, they're there.
Yeah.
We're going to get rid of the porta toilets, I'm assuming. Again, there's another question. Do we keep them for outside events?
You could always maybe even present options like package deals, like, because then,
Exactly.
it's easy to put it on a piece of paper, and depending on the size of the event, the person's already going to know what they want out of it anyway. So, yeah, I guess. So we obviously have we are the ones that make that decision. Do we have to put it on the agenda at some time soon, or how does that kind of?
Yeah, so I think two things. I think your question is definitely well timed. I think when we brought it up last time, I think there was a lot of discussion that which committee should own which parts, right? And I think, one of the conversations, and I think that's why Mr. Bergola brought it to this group, is because I think one of the comments was, if it's a facility, shouldn't facilities have eyes and ears on it, right? And I think ultimately it's going to come into policy, which we already have a policy on facilities use. I think that, my opinion would be that it would be a discussion, obviously now that generated here, but hearing some input back from this committee saying that, we agree in theory on certain items, and then have Dean work on what that in theory looks like, and then bring it back to maybe this committee for a final once-over before bringing it to policy again, so that this committee is in support of it, and then policy can either be in support or not in support, and then it goes to the full board. But I think that, with the brand-new facilities, right, there's just a lot going on. For example, and, Dean didn't even mention this, but he was talking about the outside. But if someone wants to rent our auditorium, that comes with a charge because someone has to run the soundboard. We cannot have anyone go in there and flip a switch. Those are trained individuals to work that soundboard. So, that's a huge issue right now. I mean, obviously, we're thinking outdoors, we're thinking spring, we're thinking summer. But if an organization said, hey, I want to rent it for insert function here, that becomes a concern, because it's not just open the doors because we want to support our local community. It's, okay, we can do that, but we need a custodian, to your point, for bathrooms. We need and points of entrance and exit. We also need someone to work that soundboard. That soundboard is very difficult to work. We also, have to think of things of that nature. So I agree with you, and I think your question is well timed. I would say if this committee, through the subcommittee chair, obviously, were to approve Dean to continue kind of fine tuning and drilling it down so that we could have kind of that fine drilled outline for this group, and then the policy committee can either chew it up or, accept it. That would be their purview, obviously, and their pleasure. But I think that if they know that this committee was in support of that, then we can really just clean this up. Because I do think the longer we wait, to Dean's point, we're really putting ourselves at a huge loss, because we are in limbo, you know, while we heard from community members, right? It's not that we want to deny them, but we also have to have something in place to use our fields. As you said, Mr. Kaleja, can't just have someone out there and not use a bathroom, you know, and then if they're using a bathroom, what if that bathroom were to malfunction, right? That's a huge issue, and we can't have that, right? We don't want to come into a flood or anything of that nature. So that would be my recommendation through the subcommittee chair, to have Dean continue to really just drill it and put everything on there, so to speak. And then at the next facilities subcommittee, say, we like A, B, C, D, E, we don't like F, whatever the case may be. And then come policy, Dean could just kind of hit print and take it from there.
Yeah, I would agree that the facilities purview here is just what's required, who has to come in for what are we going to charge? I mean, the 80% thing is really more of the policy side anyways. Just wanted to have an outline of
Yeah.
what we were going to charge, and you're well on your way. You have my support to continue.
I think the spreadsheet is more of what this committee should be looking at.
Agree.
To agree that, yes, you're going to tell me that, yes, we want somebody on that turf when it's being rented, or no, we don't, right? And then it goes into policy, like the boss said, as far as do they want to charge, we'll leave it up to them. But we know we, as facilities, want to maintain that field. We want somebody present. Again, that's my personal opinion, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys to tell me if that's what you guys want.
I think if the document just shows the costs that we're outlining, and then policy can decide if they want to charge in the way they write the policy, but you have got to reflect what those costs need to be, and they can decide. So, yeah, to your point,
exactly.
whatever you think needs to come, what places we need them, what places we don't, like a menu, like Mr. Kaleja said.
Okay. Anything else on policy? Okay, next we talk about.
Dean, hold for 1 second.
Sure.
So, I'm sorry, I heard Mr. Putnam was in favor of that, and I saw a lot of head nods, but if that is the direction that this committee wishes to go, I would just say, you know, through the subcommittee chair, to just,
Are we all in
doesn't have to
agreement?
be,
Yeah. Elena? Yeah.
okay. Sorry, just so, make it formal for the minutes, yeah, okay. Sorry, Dean, my apologies.
It's okay. Next, we have the Vogel Wetmore Playground packet that's in there to go out for bid. If you take a look at it, let me scroll down to get to it. Copy. Okay, so our lawyers worked with us on drafting this RFB to go out with some specifications to look for the Vogel Wetmore School. This is going to be to the right of the school. If you look at, there's a map in here also. I think it shows it in here if it doesn't. To the right of the school, along the lines with, there's a black fence and the lawyer's office is next to it. Bill Conti's office is next to it. And so right there's a plain area that was looking to take it and turn it into a pre-K special ed playscape. Any questions on that?
I only had just one quick on that. So the scope of work talks about playground design, worksite preparation. We've specified, we want 10 pieces of playscape equipment. Are we basically saying, hey, come to us with whatever you design, and was that the idea?
Yeah, that is about the idea. We did get an initial layout from a designer, but the lawyer said that we should not put their names on it. It's funny, you know, it's got a certain name. It's a horse with a spring on it, right? But they have a certain name. So what's your horse with the springs on the name, or whatever the piece of equipment it is? So we left it generic, but I think it nails it down because we put the age group and we put the need for it. So there's not that big of a variation, right? So that's where we stand on it. And again, I think page 17, if you look at it here, page 16 shows a picture of that little play thing I put there is the location of it. I guess you can call it a swing on that picture. So I'd like to, the approval for that to go out to bid.
I do have one question. What are your thoughts about making pre-bids mandatory? I can maybe understand, I'm asking this question now, but it's kind of for all, I guess, these projects, just in general. What I mean is maybe for a playground, it maybe check out, but in terms of consistency's sake, me personally, it's kind of become a pet peeve of mine is making it a requirement. It's kind of an easy way to make a concrete list, like whoever's there, those are your people that have to bid it, or not have to bid it, but can bid it. For instance, you can't, it'll then become a bid requirement.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you.
Okay.
I agree 100% with you. And we're when we get to the chair law, I'll explain why that one's not a mandatory. But yeah, I agree 100%. I think they should show up to the pre-bid, sign in, get there, stay with the focus on it.
Yeah.
And again, depending on what it is, for the majority of the stuff you're going to see, it's a mandatory pre-bid.
Because even like, again, maybe a playground wouldn't be a good example, but I've found with the pre-bid, like you get a lot of these guys on site, more eyes on site, you know, you get a lot of brains going. Sometimes you can find things that you can correct before the project started, save change orders, things like that, or if you need an allowance for a certain item, you know, you find that there. It kind of saves some headaches. Yeah, anyway.
No, I agree 100%. And you'll notice some of the guys are telling some of you guys to shut up because they want to change order instead of putting it in. pre-bid,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, it's kind of like, you know, I've learned my lesson the hard way where it's like sometimes, you know, a lot of change orders could have been avoided.
Sure.
But,
Yep.
okay.
agree.
So is that something we just simply can correct right now, like just verbally, or how's that work?
On this document right here?
Yeah. Unless you didn't want to change it for this one, I don't know.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I would have to go back and figure out and talk to our lawyer why it's not, because
Sure.
we didn't, and it's losing me why.
Okay.
I mean, it's very simple to change.
Yeah.
I can just ask them, and then we can change it, because this document didn't go anywhere yet.
Yep.
We can just change it in here to make it mandatory.
Cool.
I could definitely look into that.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm not, we've done it before
Yeah.
for things, so, I mean, they're gonna have to come out, wouldn't they have to come out to design it anyways?
Yeah, they almost would. They almost would have to
So
come out.
almost-
Yeah, there's no layout here. There's really nothing,
Yeah, there's not even pictures of like.
not even pictures
close
of
up to
that,
the
no.
ground.
We
You'd
left
have
it
to
pretty
come see
general.
it.
That's why I say pet peeve. I just like, for some reason, I really don't, when people throw a number at something
Yeah.
without ever even seeing it on site, getting boots on the ground is sometimes the best way to do it, so.
I agree.
Okay, so we're all in agreement to send that out to bid? Yeah.
Mr. Kalish, I think, wants to have a pre-bid requirement.
Yeah, you know, barring that pre-bid requirement, you know, I'm good to, unless, Dean, you don't really find that entirely necessary for this
Well,
one
like I
project?
said, I would talk to our lawyer and see if there's a reason why he did it or just not, it didn't do it.
It was more just
Joe?
a general comment to like keep it in the back of your head for like each bid for any
Yeah.
project that comes across, like, you know, I trust your judgment whether you find it necessary. Maybe a playground wouldn't be necessary, but like a chiller, ironically, you said you wouldn't, but I was gonna say that'd be the one you'd want, but,
Yeah,
you know, we'll get there, but.
okay.
That being said, I am okay for it to go out to bid.
Great.
I'll make a motion to move this, for them to then push this along. This goes to full board then, right?
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Next thing on here is TIS Playscape that, let me get to it. There's two different options on here, and this is very, very preliminary. This was with a budget number, and the Utiliplay put this stuff together. You'll see some costs in here that are below our budget for there, but that did not include groundwork excavation, okay? So we may have to take back a little bit. I just wanted to put out there, you know, this is what we're working on, this is the layout of it. Where, in the location, I guess, is probably important too. If you look at the picture, gives you an idea if you know the site, especially the first picture. You can see where the basketball courts are laid out over there. So this is to the right of it. There's a grassy plain that's there that this will fit into that area, and the dimensions are on there also. So nothing to kind of vote on. I just wanted to get out there. That's where we are. We still got some work to do with this.
Mr. Pergola, question on this one. This would then go through a bid process, right?
So this would go through the same process. You know, again, speaking with our lawyer, we would take this and we would turn it into what the Vogel Wetmore looks like, okay, and then send it out to bid.
That's what I thought, and then I think we probably need that time anyways to get the actual quotes back on the project we're about to talk to see what types of funds are available.
Yeah.
So we don't get bids back in the wrong range, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there a cost with this design? I mean, it's a pretty, just out of
No,
curiosity.
not yet. Donna, we
pretty-
haven't gotten a bill from this guy, no.
That's a pretty good deal. I mean, that's a pretty involved design
It
to,
really is,
you know, that's cool.
yeah. And this is the fourth time we use these people?
Yeah, we worked with them for the Torrington special ed preschool playground as well.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yep. Okay, next on the agenda is TMS roof update. So we are still waiting on the state on that right now. It was 45 days, 30 days ago, something like that, so we're
Mid-June is when they're telling us they could get back to us. We're hoping sooner.
so really nothing else I have for that.
Probably safe to say that's a next year project.
Well, again, there are two phases to it, and the first phase is the gymnasium that is slated to be done before snow falls in 2026. So we're hoping at least they can get that part done. Again, when this gets out to bid, will tell us. I can't look into a ball on this. And
Of course, I was giving you the leeway to say that this isn't likely. I mean, you've got a lot of work to do, and
yeah, it could be done. It all depends who they get. They get a guy in there and he's hungry and he needs work done and he can man the job, right? And he can mobilize. Oh, we got to get there first.
great, thank you.
So would that be the point in which we can lock in a price? Like where, I know like the common theme with this is it's getting more and more expensive. Like at what point can we?
Well, once the bid gets submitted, we're locked in.
Regardless, I'm saying of when the work, how do I want to say this? So would we still put it out to bid? Say this happens in like 2 months from now, just as an example, where we know the construction, it's too far in the year where the job wouldn't be completed before snowfall. Would we still then put it out to bid? Like, am I asking that correctly?
Well, we're putting it out to bid as soon as the state gets back to us, as the plan is.
Okay.
If it comes back to us next week, the state, and then we'll try to get it out the week after.
So if that's, I guess what I'm asking. So if they, okay, maybe that's a dumb question.
There shouldn't be
Okay,
there shouldn't be so it's a redo, but they still wanted to look at the redo of this.
Yep.
So you would think it would be a shorter time frame
I
for
got you.
them.
Yep.
I don't foresee any obstacles where they're going to say, oh, you got to wait, you got to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And the bid's going to require them to hold the price. I mean, that's what happened last time. If they can't do it until spring, and that's the low bidder, and we go with them, I mean,
Yeah.
that's on them. They're going to lock in their material price once they get awarded the job.
Right. So I do have to ask, you did kind of reveal your hand. You said that you wouldn't want to require a pre-bid meeting for this. May I ask why you felt that way?
For what?
Oh, that was for the chiller, my bad, sorry,
Chiller. Yep.
apologies. I'm eager.
All right, we're getting to it. All right, so the next item is the Torn Ford chiller. And you'll see the RFQ for that, I think. Hang on, a lot of pages here. Should have tabbed it. Give me one more second. Okay. Yeah, so the RFQ for this, we want to get out for the chiller use. And the reason why, I'll jump right to it, the reason why is I had all of the players come out already. So every one of these chiller manufacturers have been to the job, measured, went through the whole process. Instead of slowing this down, you guys say yes to this, boom, we want to get it out. Time was of the essence with this as far as manufacturing of the piece of equipment, installation of the piece of equipment, commissioning and all of that. So that's why this one, because all the players have been out there already when I was trying to get it through the other purchasing, the way we were going to purchase it. But now it's going out to a public bid. So, okay. Any questions on that, on the chiller RFQ?
My only question on the public bid, not having the pre-bid, we reached out to a bunch of vendors, right?
I haven't done anything yet.
No,
Oh,
initially.
yeah, yes.
So if we don't, that's
Jeff,
right.
we reached out to a bunch of manufacturers.
Right.
So I went right to the manufacturers. I didn't go out to contractors for these numbers on here.
So it won't be a mandatory pre-bid. Will there be a pre-bid option for
Oh,
somebody?
yeah,
to
if
come?
anybody wants to, absolutely. If they want to go measure, they can measure, we'll meet them out there.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm looking for the approval on that to go out to bid.
Motion for approval.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is retro commission project. I don't have any updates on that. I'm still waiting for Dakin Applied to go out and do some fine tuning and get that chiller actually up and running. It's not there yet. This weather has been kind of killing us on that, so it's coming. Because they need this update, they need this information also for the, just for the project itself, because they're asking me and we're trying to coordinate that. Okay, next item is the artificial turf maintenance cost comparison. Now, this ties into our lawn maintenance that we just awarded. This was taking out of that, those prices that came in, they included in the price, but the contract, we slashed it out. We says, no, we do have 60 days, according to our lawyer, if we wanted to award that to either one of those contractors to do the turf maintenance. So what I did was I just came up with a comparison here, did a little research on what we have, how to do it, if we can do it. I talked to our guys here, and I personally feel that we can handle this part of the turf maintenance according to this sheet here. So, you know, if you had some questions on this, I don't want to go through every item on here, unless you have questions, and then I'll answer anything that you would like.
I've got just a couple. The ATV, the $45,000 ATV for general cleanup and such, did we not need that? I mean, it sounds like we
No,
Kinda
no,
needed it
you know,
anyways?
Jeff, we need it. So we have this antiquated golf cart that Chevy Chase drove around in what was that movie? Caddyshack. All right, and I think it might be that old, to be honest with you, that it still works, right? But, I mean, we can't tag along anything. We can't use it for anything other than going from one spot to another.
I think where I'm going with this is you need this piece of equipment, even if we aren't bringing it in-house.
It would be very, 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 very helpful. Yes, we would need this piece of equipment.
So we're really comparing, yes, it's in this project, but even just cleaning the turf is only a fraction of what this machine would be used for.
Absolutely.
In keeping the overall place up and running.
You know, and that's why the number of that, because it would hopefully be something that we could, you know, maybe get a snow blower attachment to, or a broom attachment, or be able to utilize this thing more than just for picking up garbage and driving around the turf with it, so.
Have you looked at those like Kubotas?
Yeah, that's.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, this was, I got some numbers on Kubotas. John Deere's got a couple. There's another two more manufacturers. You know, they're all pretty apples to apples when it comes to performance and cost on them. You can get some cheesy ones out there too, but.
The Kubotas are not, they have a lot, they have every attachment you could think of.
Yeah, yeah. It's depending on what level you go to, right? You know, they have a base level that's limited. So yeah, we were looking at all of those details.
This probably won't matter a whole lot. Then my other two questions are the Section 3 side-by-side yearly cost comparison. Are we anticipating needing to do overtime to get this done? Or are we anticipating, or is doing this going to create more overtime so we reflect the?
Well, if you look down at the bottom, and I kind of try to figure that a little bit, to be honest with you, if you look combined average total of 6.5 hours per week, you know, we're here paying for overtime, so I think we can get it done, kind of two birds with one stone. While we're here, you jump on the machine, you put the sweeper behind there. That's another piece of equipment we'd have to buy. That's a drag behind sweeper. That picks us up just general stuff, just to keep it up. Listen, the stuff, right, you're not supposed to have to do a lot of maintenance to it. And it's true, it's not grass, it's not topsoil, it's not clay, but there's still some stuff you got to do, right? You just can't leave it alone because it's going to look like crap out there. You got to pick up bottle caps and things of that nature and just go around. So I'm hoping it's not digging into additional overtime. But if it is, it's really, if you look at the hours, it's nothing compared to the other stuff we're paying overtime for.
No, yeah, it was just for cost comparison purposes. If it gets a lot closer. If it does become overtime and that number is $12,000 or $13,000, then you take the escalator they get every year. It starts to get closer to outsourcing it, but I would prefer to keep it in-house, as you guys know.
Yeah, and I did, I believe my costs reflect overtime cost, and I did add percentages in there. Hang on, let me think about that for a minute. I did this beginning of the week. No, what I did is I based it on our head custodial pay. So the highest guy paid, I based it on that. And then I added the allotted time, I added, I think it was 15%. So in other words, if you did an analysis of how long it should take to do this, I added. First of all, for a learning curve, number one, and number two, I never really trust those. I want a little bit of cushion in there. So I think we're pretty safe with those numbers.
I'm good with it. Now, doing it in-house, especially if we can even do it when they're on overtime for something else.
Right.
There's all kinds of ways to get this done. So thank you for putting this together. This is much better to see it in-house.
Okay. No, well, listen, there's a lot of turf. I'm going to be honest with you. And the guy who came, the field turf guy came when we watched him, and he was on a machine with all these attachments, and it's a $300,000 machine to do all the stuff that does. So they still come in twice a year. Field turf is going to come in twice a year, and they're going to do those fills. They're going to do the stitching. They're going to do these other things. We're paying them to come in twice a year, and that's when they handle that type of stuff. If there's additional stuff, a couple of spots here and there, they trained us. You put a little sand down, you put that down, you go with a broom. We have a little system there. There's, depending on what sport it is, there's certain areas on the field that are going to get more worn out, right? So we're not going to be up there spreading the whole field. We'll do areas. So you don't really need a machine other than maybe to get out there to dump the sand and salt and do it, right? Or the sand and to do it. So to answer that question.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
Okay, so
You need a motion, well, I don't actually know that you do need a motion
I don't
for
know.
this.
You tell me. No?
I don't think you do. You're gonna do it in-house, you're just gonna take it on, the responsibility. Not sure how the capital purchase part works, but we can figure that out afterwards. It's not happening tomorrow.
Right. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is, what do we got? THS gym floor. So what you have in front of you from J.J. Curran and Son is a cost to do a yearly maintenance that is needed every year on the floor, where they come in and I'll use a layman's terms, they kind of buff and recoat, right? Which is, keeps the warranty up and it's what you're supposed to do for service. Because of the issues we had in the high school floor, they came in and they did some repairs. They said if they get the job to do the first year buff and recoat, they will extend our warranty 1 year from the date after they finish buff and recoat it. So we're gaining a year's warranty on the floor that we're, had to do some repairs to, and we're hoping there's no more repairs to be done. It's a service that we would do anyway, because it's supposed to be done every year. So that's what's in front of you, that quote for J.J. Curran. And I did clarify today that the 1 year warranty, extended warranty will start after they're done with this process.
So otherwise would we have just been okay with not having that extended warranty, or would we have found other means to that, or?
I think we want to extend the warranty, especially of the few issues that we had with them.
Yep.
I think it's a pretty good insurance policy.
I'll throw this one out there. This was a topic of quite the contention at building committee, as we were both there, Mr. Pravola. And the building committee was all, hey, we need to have this extra warranty. This isn't the installation, the why we were installing it. Have we gotten those answers? Because really, this kind of falls on the building committee as far as, the key cost of getting the warranty extended and making sure the product's right. ONG was stepping in to stand behind it, the vendor. They're not going to give us a warranty every year thereafter. And while I think it's great, but we don't actually recoat, and we have never recoated all of our other floors every year.
This floor requires it. So if you look at the specifications for this floor, it requires, especially the finish that you put on it. Now, a lot of these older
water-based.
schools have got an oil-based finish.
It's water-based then,
You
right?
can't use anymore. So the water base comes with a cost of not using oil it has to be buffed and recoated every year. Now, listen, does it not have to be? Are you gonna void the warranty at that point? You know, I don't know. Is it gonna get slick? Are you gonna have issues with safety because of that? Depends on the court, how much it gets used and all of those different things. So, you know, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Jeff, I think prior to me coming here, and we did it one year, we do have a company coming in and they buff and recoat our other floors. And it's, you know, it's just a yearly thing to do, just to keep that tackiness down where you're losing that slipperiness and you're not, you know, it's not a full resand, but it's a screen and coat, so.
And that may be what I was thinking of, maybe the full refurbishing is only happening every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, even greater than that, I'm gonna be honest with you. You don't wanna bring these down to full, you know, repaint of the lines and stuff like that, as long as you can possibly hold off. That's a big nut.
Have they resolved all of the issues on the floor now? Are we whole?
Yeah, so they fixed the splintering issues that were there. They repaired them probably, maybe 3 weeks ago. So they took care of those, and there was a couple other minor issues they did.
Okay, and then after the first year, we can decide if we want to use this vendor in perpetuity or not?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Questions?
I would motion that we approve that and send it to the full, approve the what was it?
J.J. Kieran.
J.G. Kiernan for the contract for $16,000 for refurbishment and send it to the full board.
So moved, yeah, or second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Sound works.
Okay, and the last the last item is SoundWorks. There are 4 schools that we have done a change out of our security system from the old Sonatrol to these new systems. We kind of did it on an emergency basis because we had a huge problem with Sonatrol and the phone lines, and we had to change all these systems out in the building. So these 4 schools, while doing it, this is a contract that is in there that has a couple of additional things I want you to tell me if we want to do on here. And you don't have to look at all of them. If you look at the first sheet, it's the same for all the schools. So if you look at page 1 of 6, which is actually page 130 of 153 of my packet this week. It's a new record, 153 pages. You'll see that a service B is an option and service C is an option. So what it pretty much is you can not choose these, and then you're at the on-call price to repair or even service the pieces of equipment, or you can pay this and they will come in and do these services for the units and for all the pieces of equipment we have in there. So it's a choice of whether we roll the dice and don't have, you know, an extended warranty, I guess you can call it, or a service warranty, or we pay a price and they cover most of the costs that come with this, or that we may see in the future.
So the C, inspection and testing, aren't we required to do that annually almost anyways? I think most, I mean, I
Yes.
don't know the answer, but
Yes,
I'm required, the building that we're in, they're required to do it every year.
yes. But it's an option, would they give you whether, we don't have to have SoundWorks do it. We could have somebody else do it. It's, you know, it's their system. I would prefer staying with the same contractor instead of going out trying to find somebody to do the testing on that, is my opinion.
This is the inspection where they go around and test every smoke detector, and I mean, you're talking $41 is $500 a year per building. So I think it would be crazy not to have somebody do it at least, and if this is the vendor, then.
Okay.
As far as the extended warranty goes, this is a brand new system, isn't it?
Mhm.
So
I used the
historic
wrong term. It's not an extended warranty. That's my fault. It's what it says.
service
It's a
contract.
service and inspection and test.
Well, the inspection is your C, right?
Inspection is the C.
The other one is service, but it's subsection
Yeah,
2,
Yep.
which would really be a service contract.
Yep.
So did we, and I don't know this, and I should have gone and looked, what did we have with Sonatrol? What were we doing before?
well, I don't remember the exact numbers, I'm going to be honest with you, but I know it was substantially more. And I don't remember what it was per month.
No, did we have the service contract with Sonatrol?
No, we did not have the service contract.
Because that's, looking at 110, that's about $1,300, $1,320 a building
Yeah.
per year. So do we expect to have $5,000 plus in, we'll say, service contracts? That doesn't include the parts, I'm assuming, right? That's just. the
Well, it
labor.
does. If you look at it, one follows another. If you look at I broke it down here for easier terms, that each location is 55 monitoring. Number 7 on there? Yeah.
Well, you're looking, I guess my thought would be, it's the first year. Do we really think we're going to have $5,000 in labor costs on the system in the first year? And, well, even that, the system's under warranty, right? And it was put in, based on the document, it was put in October. So maybe we look at this. You don't need it in the first year, right?
No, you don't need it in the first year, right, because they cover it for a year under their warranty. Right, so their original installation warranty.
You're here every day, Mr. Pergola. Do you think that we would spend $5,000 a year in 4 buildings on service calls for something that's new? You know these buildings in and out, and I admittedly do not.
Yeah, probably not, but maybe. So again, if a piece of equipment is out of the warranty within the time frame, again, they put this in, I want to say, 5 months ago, right? So we're already 5 months into it. I can see if that date could be changed on this to reflect it after the year, because I don't think it, so what you're saying is you don't want to double up on the warranty. Pay for a half a year.
I mean, have you had any service calls?
Yeah, they've had come out a couple times. One was a nuisance, the other one, a couple times where they had to replace some pieces. I mean, I think 2, maybe 2 at TIS, and I think 1 at Vogel.
Yeah, I'll defer to your judgment on this. I probably wouldn't do it in the first year myself, but that's whatever the rest of the board's thought is on this. And
Okay.
obviously, your opinion.
Well, if I can get him to change it and maybe we can dive into this after the year's up, change the terminology in here and say it will take effect after the full year is up. Is that something you would? Okay.
Do you guys want to have it, or do you want to look at it? Do you want to decide then? Yeah, I think what Mr. Pergola is looking for here is, do you want to engage the contract at the end of a year and say, start this in November of 2026, or do you want to see what's going on and decide then?
I would recommend starting after the existing warranty is over.
Yeah, so on that one on the, not, do the inspection and test now, correct?
You wouldn't have to do that really until the year mark either, right? I mean, that's an annual inspect, so your annual inspect would be, I would assume all of this would be
Okay,
for discussion. The monitoring would be now, obviously. I'm sure we're already doing this. But the other pieces here that you're talking about, I would assume would be a November or whenever the system was commissioned, right?
okay. All right, so I will tell him, come back in November with this,
Yeah, why don't you might as well sign these agreements to have your,
without the check mark.
without the check mark.
Yeah.
Unless they want to, you could sign the inspection, obviously, as long as they're not going to do it
Right.
till,
Yeah.
we all agree you need the inspection.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed?
Okay. All right, I think that was the end of my list. Let me just double check, yes?
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Topics for future meetings? Anything
Did we want to add that, I guess that policy discussion, for lack of a better term, in term, for the renting and of the properties and whatnot? Is that something should we add as an official topic, or? The facility usage, yeah, the
I think
renting.
Mr. Pergola was going to come back with that
Yeah.
next month.
Yeah, we
with
can add it as a topic.
The outline.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Are there any other contracts coming due, Mr. Pergola, that we would want to have on the agenda for his future?
Not that I have at the top of my head.
Okay.
All right, Comments for good of the order?
Oh, I have one more. Can we,
Go ahead.
Ms. Faines, when will we have an idea how we did for the year on the device protection policy? Maybe not next meeting, but the one after?
Yeah, we're currently sending out, like, a reminder notice for the end of the year for any unpaid bills, and we have been getting responses, so, potentially next meeting? I can give an update at
So
least.
maybe the June meeting, that would probably have a pretty good idea by the June meeting.
Yeah, I would think so.
That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Comments for good of the order, John?
Good meeting, Mr. Burgola. You had quite the list tonight.
Good meeting, thank you.
Donna?
Hats off to Mr. Pergola. That was a lot to navigate and a lot of detail-oriented information. So great job.
Thank you. Good meeting.
Good meeting. No kicking needed.
Thanks, everyone. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Budget Committee meeting for the Torrington Public Schools on Wednesday, May 13th at 6:29 PM. Roll call. Got all the committee members. Got everybody down. I don't think nobody's missing tonight, correct? All right, next I need to make a modification to the agenda. Looking for a motion to move item number 6E, push that to the next meeting, if we could. Somebody willing to support that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right. Approval of minutes. Looking for a motion to approve last month's minutes as attached.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, public participation. Anybody here wishing to speak to the board? Mr. Michelson, anybody? Okay, we'll skip that. Number 6, discussion next steps. Down to you, Ms. Levy, monthly financials.
Great. Good evening, everybody. You all have received the packet for the monthly financials up to April 30th, 2026. And I just had a few updates that were highlights that I noticed that I wanted to just bring to everyone's attention. I did want to highlight that facility use. We do have, it's up to $20,000 now as far as our fees that we've collected, and we expect another $5,000. So I just wanted to give an update on that. And then in your packet, if you go to page 9 of the packet, there was one item that I want to bring to everyone's attention, and it's our copier lease. We did receive information from the vendor that the per copy rate did go up slightly from 38 cents to, I believe, 42. And that was due, they said, to the tariffs. So we will be noticing a little bit of an overage in that area, more so than what you're seeing, probably another 10,000. So I just want to give everybody a heads up on that. And then on page 11, I wanted to highlight the mentor stipend, which is $58.90.15. And on that, that line item, I just wanted to know, because it does say we're at -16, and what that is that we do the mentor stipends at the end of the year. But we did receive sort of what, it's kind of like a mini grant from TEAM, which is the Teacher Education and Mentoring Program. So they do give us some money for participation in this mentoring program. So that's why you're seeing that amount and that negative percentage. That was it for the packet. There was a question at the last meeting about IT, what we purchased with the rebate from the Apple products. And it was, and where we originally sourced those Apple products. And we did some research, and it was out of a COVID grant, the ESSER funds, when we were all going one-to-one. So that is where the origins of that was. And then we had purchased a fleet of iPads with those funds. And I think that was it.
Great. Does anybody have any questions on the budget this month? I only have a couple. One is, so on the iPads, is that all of, have we received all of the funds, or are we still expecting some? Where are we at on the trade? It was mentioned months ago there were 2 batches of it. Do we have?
Yeah, so I think we're still expecting some more rebates for that, but I'll defer to Ms. Viennes on that.
It was a while ago. You may already have gotten them. It was way back in the fall.
I have a meeting with them this Friday about receiving the remaining funds.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
My other one was 561004 on page 11 of 15. I mentioned it last time. I just don't see any transactions. Are you guys getting close to getting your stuff together for that line item to order all the stuff? I know we shifted when we buy those things, but are we expecting to?
Yes, so we're gonna dig deep and just see, do an inventory next week, and we'll be coming back to the budget committee if we think we need to do any line item transfers. And if not, we will be spending down those lines.
Okay. And the other one, oh, on the copier services, did you say 39 cents, or did they maybe mean 3.9 and 4.2?
It
Or
was-
do we pay, do we lease the
You're
machine on a
correct.
total?
Thank you. You are correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 3.9, so
Yeah.
we pay
3
a copier
cents
lease.
more
And then the
closer.
cost per page, you get a certain number of pages included in the contract usually, and then your overages, or however they've worked it out. It could have been 39 cents if you were paying for the machine that way by copy, but I didn't think so. Thank you very much. Just wanted to understand that one.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, the other one I had was, I marked this one. I don't think I brought the packet I marked. Oh, yes, are we still tracking, the retirement health insurance always works its way back, but I couldn't tell if it comes out in 12 months or 10, because the percentage is heading in the right direction. Do we expect it to get all the way there? Or we're never exactly there. You never can be, you never know, but.
Right, yeah, no, we expect it to get right there.
Okay. All right, other than that, you answered my other question. I did not have much this month, so some of these line items you can't do anything about, so.
Right, thank you.
All right. Barring questions on that, we will move to item B, 26-27 ECS funding update.
I mean, I guess I can take that one. Obviously, the governor did release the additional funds in the ECS, but as this board is aware, ECS does go through the city. It does not directly come to the Board of Education. So as we sit here today, that's going to be a conversation, obviously, future conversation with the city to see if they plan on releasing those funds directly to the Board of Education or putting in whatever increase and saying that it came from that additional funds that were received. But that is where we're at.
Yeah, I think the good clarifying point there is that the version of the bill that passed is the one that gave us more money. Well, it allocated more money to ECS, but it goes back in the base ECS. So we'll have to hope that our conversations with the city are fruitful in getting that money towards our much-needed budget. All right. Next up would be Grant Revenue Historical Data Report. And this one came from our conversation with the city.
Yes. So there was a question about our entitlement grants and if we receive what we budget for. And so I pulled together, this was a historical grant grid. And you'll see all the entitlement grants are something that's given to the community based on our free and reduced population and other criteria in the census track. So they're not competitive. We just receive them. So you'll see if you go down the line, and we just kept the ones on that are zeroed out, just so we could see for historical purposes. But you'll see as you go down the line, they're pretty much flat funded, other than the Alliance has increased over the years. And then, the bilingual education as you go down, that's another entitlement grant. Education cost sharing, as you know, is pretty much stable and hasn't, done a bunch of an increase there. And then if you go down the page, you see IDEA. Again, it's basically the same amount. It's moved up in increments, very small increments. And then the IDEA 619, that's for the preschool. Again, pretty much, flat funded. And as you go down, you'll notice the same for the other grants. On page 13, you'll see the special education excess cost, and that is for our students, that go above and beyond the per pupil rate at a certain percentage rate. I think it's like 3 times, and then the state, if they have funding, will kick in some money. So right now, that 3 million is the potential for billing, and having the state reimburse, and those go directly to the city, just like our ECS. So you'll notice on the far right column that I put whether or not it comes to the BOE or if it comes to the city. So that one does go to the city. And then our Title I, again, that's another entitlement grant, pretty much, staying stable. And Title II is for professional development. That one, again, is staying stable. Title III is for our ELL. And then Title IV is for additional enhancements to curriculum. And then, of course, the 2% cost sharing, that's remained the same throughout the years. So on the, your bottom line is reflecting those amounts, and, you're seeing a little bump because our excess costs, does look like they could be receiving a little bit more this year. So that's basically just a summary, a high-level summary of what's called, really, it's grants, but they were asking about our revenue. So this is hopefully to clarify some of those things. I will note that the adult ed one on page 12 at the top is actually for this year, it was updated. It's 178,455. So again, if you see the previous years, it's right in line with those. So I didn't know if anyone had any questions. I know that's a lot of information.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you for putting this together for us and for the city. I think it's important to note that you're 100% accurate. This is a very stable funded money source. I mean, if you look at it, the only real changes year to year are the alliance funds. Everything else seems to live in that 1% to 2% variation, right? I mean, there's not a lot of swings here. Besides alliance, we're not getting a lot less or a lot more money in the given year.
Yes,
Thank you for doing that.
my pleasure.
If there's no more questions, we'll move on to the student activity detail.
Okay, so at the last meeting, we went over the high-level student activity balances, and the one that was requested to show more of a breakdown was for the Torrington High School, because they have a significant fund, mostly, due to a lot of scholarships and many clubs, as you will see. So the top of the page, on page 14, you're going to notice the balance, almost 400,000 in all of the bank accounts. And we have a little cash on hand there, $35. And then if you flip to page 15, you'll see all the student activity account totals, like about 370. And the variation there is because we do have a CD at one of the banks that's not broken down into any of the accounts below. And it could go into the principal's activity fund. But for now, it's not represented below, so that's why it's not tying out exactly. But this is basically a summary of where we're at. We're in QuickBooks with this, and it's being reconciled down to the penny right now. So we're very appreciative of everyone's hard work who's been working on that. Were there any questions for that one?
Does THS still have a care closet?
I know there's a variation of it. I'm not sure if it is exactly the same as it was, but I could find out for you.
Thanks.
Yep.
I guess my question is sort of a follow-up to that one, but in a more general statement. What do we do? I mean, does anybody audit these for inactivity? Like, at what point does an account say it has 2 years with no transactions in it? How often are we looking at those things?
That's a great question. So last June, I think, is when we presented this, and believe it or not, we were able to cut it down quite a bit. There was a lot of inactive accounts. So I think we did, even though this looks like a significant amount of accounts, I honestly think, we were on 2.5 pages last year. We were able to reduce at least 10 to 15 of the accounts that were inactive.
So there's safe to say that these accounts all have activity in the last school year or two.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
putting this together.
My pleasure.
Anybody have any other questions in regards to the student activity report? Great. Then topics for future meetings. It's not on here, but we have to do it. Topics for future meetings, we'll do the FAST Academy, potential future revenue program. We'll have our normal budget items. Anything else anybody wants to have on the agenda? No? All right. Then we'll put those on. Comments for the good of the order. We'll start at the far end of the table tonight. Mr.
Great
Mickelson.
meeting, nice and quick, thanks.
Good meeting.
Good meeting, thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone. Great meeting.
Good meeting, thank you.
Great meeting.
Yeah, fast, John. That's, you like, this could be a record for us. Thank you all for the hard work, guys. I know a lot's going into this as the school year winds down. We'll see you all next month. Thanks again. Motion to adjourn? Second. All those in favor? This meeting is